Well, greetings all. We're out here in the Arizona desert still, and I've got kind of a special video for you here. I was doing some communicating with an internet friend from Canada, and she happens to be down here in the States. Some of you may know her from her videos on YouTube. So we're going to go ahead and say hi to Amanda and Frank from TideLineToAlpine. Hey, Amanda.
Hey, how's it going?
So cool. It's so cool to meet up with you.
Yeah,
I
likewise.
appreciate you reaching out and being willing to come out to where we're camped here.
Oh yeah, it worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Easy.
So you have a very distinctive looking van.
Yes, I do. This is Truck.
Truck.
Truck is a 1994 GMC Vandura. Custom paint, new engine.
Nice.
So,
and this is?
that is Frank. He is near 11 years old. He's an Australian cattle dog who is currently eating the desert.
He seems like he's eating dirt right now. He's totally eating dirt.
Yeah.
True dirtbag dog. So tell us a little bit more about your van and how you ended up in this and what you've done to it.
So I moved into this van after getting sick of living in a minivan, which I lived in for about 2+ years. So I got this van 6.5 years ago. I named it Truck because compared to a minivan, it felt like a truck. And at the time it was white, rusty, and needed a lot of work. And I just did a basic build inside. Moved in. The goal was just to get on the road as soon as possible and not spend a lifetime doing a build out. And then over the years, I've just slowly done improvements and tinkered and added shelves and this and that. And then body work and engine work. And then this past summer, I did a renovation. So this is actually the first time somebody's going to get a full look at my renovation project.
Nice. Cool. Well, it would be great if we could take a closer look. It is a really, like I said, unique looking van just with the color. It was surreal when you pulled in here because I'd seen it on YouTube so much and it was like, whoa, real life moment. So yeah, let's take a closer look.
Oh yeah, come on in. So I used to have a pile of floating bins and crash pads and junk, and I decided to complete the build so everything has a storage space. And so I have a working space now that I work from my computer making videos. I needed somewhere to be that wasn't my bed. So the old bed became a working space, and I built a new desk and a new bed, and it created a ton more storage and a nice little hallway.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you sit on this while you're working on your desk.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I sit here and then I can work there, and I also have this.
Oh.
So sometimes I'll work from here so I can pet Frank, and then sometimes I'll sit there and then I have all that space. Like if I'm shipping out stickers or something, I have to lay out a big mess, and then the drawers are all, you know, camera related, sticker related, electronic type and trinkets, like little things that just don't quite have a home yet. The junk drawers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then you've got shelving over here.
Yeah, so I've built this shelf is kind of stilted, so I have some winter stuff tucked under, and then this is actually a climbing pad that I use as my seat, so I have that on hand, and then I have a place to actually lay out all my books, games, cards, and that kind of stuff. So that used to all be shoved into these cubbies, and I just didn't access it very much because you'd open the door and a bunch of stuff would come falling out. So I like being able to see those types of things.
Nice.
Yeah.
So these are all sliders you can open and store stuff in there.
Let me just slide that back and whatever fell down, pick up. There's always something falling down or falling out. So I'm carefully planning which cupboard do I open. Yeah, so here, this is like my vitamin cubby. So is it van life if you open a cupboard and things don't fall out? So yeah, I have like that's all my vitamin stuff. But I built everything sliding because at the time I was on a very, very strict budget. Hardware costs money. Like any sliders, handles, every bit of metal costs more money. And so we just used a table saw and cut a groove, and then I sanded the edges of the plywood just so there's enough space for it to slide. And then that way also I maximize the storage space. So I just slide it over, cram everything in, close the door, and it stays. and you don't lose space. Like with the drawers, you lose a bit of space for storage. So I really wanted to maximize storage using the minimum amount of materials. So.
Yeah, and even like a swinging open door, you've got to be sure you're clear.
Yeah.
So yeah, very space efficient.
Yeah,
And
so I have floor to ceiling drawers. This holds quite a bit of stuff.
Nice. I like your jars too. That's nice.
Yes, thank you. I painted all the tops, just makes it look a lot nicer than just metal rings. And then the big trick to this, I always want to tell people, because they always ask, is when you screw in the top, you use 2 screws. Otherwise, it just slides, it just spins and spins and spins.
Right.
And then you just position the jar how you want before you really crank it down, and you can get a nice even look.
That's brilliant. Nice. Okay, well maybe I'll come around the side door there and we can look at your giant bed. And I'm noticing that that you sit on here in back, there's storage underneath this as well.
Yeah, I have, if I lift up the crash pad, I have a hatch door that's a big cubby here, and then from the back, the sides go the full length, and that's like mostly like tools and automotive stuff, and then a little section at the back, which is more tools and fuel. But then this is gear, and I actually have a fold-out solar panel that's stored in there. I just don't really use because I have no way to plug it into my main power system. So, yeah.
All right, I'll meet you around the other side.
All right, so then this is my new bed, which I built before building the desk. And it's 6 feet from here to the end of the bed, but then I have another foot of the box that stores my heater and my power system. So I actually have a bed length of 7 feet, and I just use, this is just foam from the foam store. So I think that's like 2-inch foam. So the mattress is like, so the mattress is really cheap and thin, so I can still sit up straight, which is one of my very few absolute non-negotiables with living in a van, is that I can sit up straight inside. So yeah, we have a big bed. This is kind of Frank's area, but sometimes he likes to lay this way, which is why my bed is way longer than I am. And then of course underneath is all storage, and I'd say that half is food, all food, and then this half is like gear and my chair and the moonshade and things I use outside, as well as shoes and stuff. So it's very, very simple, no moving gadgets or anything, and it's mostly all wood construction, so
nice.
It does the job. But I really liked moving my bed here because I can get up and I can just see out the doors, or Frank will stay in bed, and then I'll sit on the floor here and make my morning tea and stuff. So it just brings us closer to the outside, and also it's easier to pull up along the side of a road with a view than to back up with the view out the back doors, especially if you're like at a roadside pullout. There's some really, really nice views that I can now enjoy while cars drive by on that side, which I would never have had access to when my bed was just at the back. So
you mentioned you do have a diesel heater.
Yeah.
Looks like it's right here in this little box.
Yeah, so the diesel heater is in this compartment, so it blows out here. And this was gifted, and it's got me through 2 winters so far. It's been totally great. And then I can show you where I keep the fuel after. But and then when I built the bed, I just made sure that I had a bit of space, and so far it hasn't overheated anything there. But it blows up to this corner here. So when I have wet stuff, I just hang it all on these little. This is my tea station. It used to be the coffee station, but I keep my stove. I use this stove for boiling water. I have a little pot and just some stuff like that, just real handy. So then I can hang things here, and it dries so fast with the heater just blasting at it. So, yeah.
So you typically spend your winters in Canada, in BC.
Yeah, I have spent most of my winters that I've lived in a van in Canada, or in cold places down in the US, because they're quiet when they're cold.
Right.
And so I built the van specifically to be very well insulated, and also with moisture as like the primary concern was mold prevention and moisture management from the get-go, because I wasn't part of my plan to just come hang out in the dry desert all the time. So you have to build quite different if you're going to be in the Pacific Northwest, or say you're going to be a ski bum living in a van versus if you're going to just lizard.
Yeah, it is totally different. I'm pretty spoiled. I'm down here in the dry, warmer climate, and I like you said, I built accordingly, knowing that I spend very little time in that. So yeah, you've got a whole different set of challenges.
Yeah,
Where you're from.
Yeah.
Right on.
So then the rest of this box here, this section is underneath is where my power system is, which I just installed maybe 6 months ago. So until then, I never had a fixed power system. So close to 9 years of van life without a fixed power system. In the past, I would only charge while I was driving off the cigarette lighter. And then about 3 years ago, I got a power bank and a fold-out panel. So at camp, I could put that out sometimes and store a bit of power. Frank's being part of this interview.
So if you hear squeaking in the background,
one way or another,
this is what's going on. He knows we're ignoring him, so he wants you to know that he's here chewing his ball.
He's like, I'm a part of this, guys. So then I've just installed a power system. So it's a 200 usable amp hour lithium battery. So it's actually a 240 amp hour. You can use 200 of it. And it's just a really simple power system that comes off the front battery. It's just got the 60 amp DC to DC charger, and then a fuse panel, and then I don't even have an inverter wired in. What I did is I put a female cigarette lighter outlet into my fuse panel, and then let me just fish this out, and then I just put this in. So this is just like a power thing you can get at any outdoor or any kind of electronic store. And it just goes, it's got the cigarette lighter thing, just goes in. So I got one plug and 4 USB. And so as long as I'm under 150 watts, then that works. So I can charge my computer, I can charge all my batteries that plug into that. And yeah, I haven't needed to put in an expensive inverter, even though I have one and it's mounted. I just haven't wired it because it's just a lot of work, and I don't need it, so I might get rid of that.
Your needs are pretty minimal, and you don't even have a 12-volt fridge.
No, I've never had a refrigerator, and it does take up a lot of space, and there is the risk of the door comes flying open. But I've learned to do without over the years. So when I did the renovation, it just wasn't a space priority for me, and also the less power I use, the less I need to drive to charge up my battery there. So if I want, I can stay somewhere for about 2 weeks, run the lights, run the heater like half the time probably if I was going to stay for 2 weeks, but then also keep my camera charged, my drone charged, my computer charged, so I can hang out and work and just kind of like run the bare minimum. Whereas if I was running a fridge, I would probably need to be driving every few days or have solar panels mounted, which I don't because it's not efficient in Canada most of the year. Yeah.
So you heard it here, guys. She's been van dwelling for 9 years, no fridge, no solar. It is totally doable.
Yeah.
I've watched your videos. You eat healthy.
Yeah.
It is totally doable.
And no sink.
Yeah, no sink
I'm
either.
an advocate. I'm a no sink advocate. It takes up so much space. Yeah. You could have fun toys. You could have survival food instead of a sink. And so I also have no fixed water tanks for water. I have a few of these, and I have a whole bunch of like water bottles, like 1 liter, 2 liter water bottles. And so I have about like 35 to 40 liter capacity, so 8 to 10 gallon ish water capacity, and that can easily last me like 2+ weeks in the winter and well over a week when it's warm, because I'm just using it for drinking for me and Frank, and I just avoid cooking pasta if I don't want to go into town to refill water. But what's great about this is that as you drink the water, it takes up less space, so then it just frees up space. So it just lives in my hallway, and then as it empties, I just roll it up and put it away, and I don't ever have to deal with gray water. I don't have to deal with black tanks. Like I have no composting toilet or anything. And if I really want, I can put water in here. I have another one that screws on with a little bite valve, and if you hang it and you just squeeze the bite valve, it's like a little.
Yep.
I can have a little shower off the side of my van if I really want. But
just gravity feed.
yeah,
Nice.
Just focus more on conserving water than figuring out a way to carry more. And the more your van weighs, the more gas you burn. Gas is expensive, so it's also a financial decision to keep my van relatively light.
Yep.
So it is a 1 ton. So even though it's about 7,500 pounds, it doesn't notice it. The van really doesn't work any harder than when I emptied it to do the renovation. So I had all my belongings out, I had half the structures out, and the van performed pretty much the same as it does now. So being a little on the overpowered side is more efficient.
Okay, well I'm poked in here through the cab of the van, and you know, this is a little behind the scenes information. Usually when people do van tours, there's a little bit of house cleaning that goes on.
Yeah, so this would just live on the bed. This is dirty laundry, would probably live on my workspace. And then that's all my surplus food that normally just lives in the back of my hallway because it's a little cold spot in my van. It's the coldest spot in my van, so I have some food that normally lives there, and I'm working on a ceiling project. I would like to finish it. I've never finished it, and it rains with condensation, so that's the task we're working on this week. And so this is the the hidden
real life VanLife.
Yeah.
So this is Frank's dog food here.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then Frank's outside laying on a small crash pad, but normally it would go here, and then he has a really nice place to hang out while we're driving.
Right.
And then the curtains, I can open these right up to let a lot of light in the van. So in the winter, it's dark outside, so I don't have a lot of windows on the van. So moving the bed forward allowed me to kind of be near all this light and the side door light. And because I have renovated, I have had to cut the bottom of my curtains off. So you can now see what's inside.
Ah, a little insulation.
It is 2 layers of oven mitt material. And then this is just an old duvet and some black fabric. And this insulates so incredibly well. I can have the heater on back here and a t-shirt be toasty, and the condensation can be ice on this side of the curtain. Like, that is how well it insulates, even with a little air gap. It's incredible. So I have a couple notable features on the outside of my van, aside from the purple gas cap door, and that is the custom rack with a locking storage box, and there's a cedar deck in the rack. And then I also have on my spare tire mount, I got this Trasharoo before coming down to the US, and it's a game changer because all my garbage and recycling used to just get crammed between the driver's and passenger seat, and now I can just put it all here, and it makes unloading really easy, and I don't lose anything in the cracks. So I've been really stoked on this, which is probably the best thing about having a spare tire aside from not getting stranded. So these are the inner Overlander and me coming out, but they're actually worth every single penny spent on them, and have saved my butt a couple times already.
And what are those?
So these are Max Trax. These are the Max Trax branded traction boards, recovery boards. I did a bunch of research, and it sounded like these were worth actually paying for the brand name.
Yeah, and you've had to use them already.
Yes, a few times to save myself and other people, so definitely glad I have them.
Well, we appreciate you giving us a glimpse into your van there. You did a really good job. I am very impressed by your minimalistic way of living. People that know me from my channel, I've got this crazy solar panel setup, fridge, freezer, microwave, all this stuff, and you're out here doing it minimalistically and happy and enjoying it.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this 9 years ago? What prompted you to get into your first vehicle living situation?
So I first got into living in a vehicle because I had no money. I was actually going to live in a tent, and my first van was gifted to me. So when that died, because it was a very, very crappy van, the engine seized. I lived in a tent for a while, but it was luckily summer instead of winter at that time because I have been living in a vehicle since the end of 2013. So then I moved into a minivan, and then I upgraded to this. So it's just been a slow process of kind of having a nicer and nicer home. And for the vast majority of that time, I had no ability to move out of a vehicle, even if I wanted to. The prices of rent just kept going up and up and up, and I was enjoying this freedom and this calm pace of life and this kind of peace, and able to like work on feeling better about who I am and really enjoy my time with my dog. And so nothing about it ever seemed appealing to go back to paying rent. So, I mean, 9 years later, I'm still here. Nice. I still can't really afford to pay rent if I wanted to. So, but I'm stoked on living in a van, and sometimes I drive a bunch of places, and then sometimes I just park for a few weeks. So I like that I have the option to either, but I'm always trying to live a slower pace of life because it moves so fast, and the older I get, the faster it seems to move.
Right. And you're a very outdoorsy person anyway. Some of your activities, hiking, kayaking, rock climbing and all that. Do you think that contributed to this being an easy kind of no-brainer decision?
Yeah, I think because I did grow up camping, so I wasn't new to camping, so living in a basic van setup just felt like really comfortable camping. So I was loving it. You know, it's so much more secure out of the wind and things than in a tent or in bad weather. It's so much nicer to be in a van. And so, you know, even like my cooking setup here, this is my stove. You probably noticed I don't have a kitchen in my van. This was my backpacking stove before I lived in a vehicle. And this is still my primary stove for cooking. I have the canister one for just boiling water, and all my meals are cooked here outside. So I'll either cook between rain, put up the shade, or eat something inside that doesn't require cooking. And so, yeah, just enjoying all sorts of different outdoor activities made finding a way to do more of that alluring, which, you know, I think a lot of climbers and other sports enthusiasts, like, they'll be drawn to van life because they get to do more of that instead of working all the time. And then for me, it was like a very easy adjustment because I was spending a lot of time sitting in the dirt, digging cat holes, you know, living pretty simple and outdoorsy. So
yeah, that makes for an easy transition. I kind of have a similar background. Now, quick question: can you have that table up when the door is closed?
Yeah.
Nice.
I did it at such a height, so
nice.
You can.
So if it's bad weather, you can totally...
Yeah, if there's going to be bad weather for days, I leave it set up with the door closed, and then I use that stationed for the other stove because it doesn't give off soot, whereas this one does give off some soot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Frank.
Hey, Frank. Hey, we're trying to make a video over here, you know, you're kind of loud.
Yeah, we're not asking for background music, buddy.
Over there, Squeaky. All right, well, Amanda, it has been really awesome to meet you and get to know you better. You are just such an easy person to be around, very comfortable. I was a little nervous when you said you were going to be showing up, but as soon as you stepped out of your van, it was like we were friends already.
Yeah,
so I
definitely.
Really appreciate you being willing to meeting up. And I thank you for the tour and sharing a little bit about your experience here. Anything else you want to add?
One, thank you for sharing my van with people, because I have also been asked by my fans to see my renovation, and I have not got around to filming my own tour. So you're doing us both a favor.
Nice.
And I will share the same advice I share every opportunity I get, which is if you're thinking about van life, there's no reason to feel like it's out of reach because of what you see on social media. There is as many different ways of doing van life as there are people doing van life. And it's just do it your way. Just do it what will bring you joy, and don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Just get out there and use van life as a way to live the life you want instead of obsessing about the van itself.
Great advice, Amanda. Thank you again. Thanks, Frank.